Welcome to today's episode. There is a special announcement today that will be given at the end of this episode, and it's about how archetypes change after major life trauma. So it's a quick Q&A. We're gonna go through just to give you an idea of how things work when we are in a different state rather than grounded. So here we go. Let us start to go through those points so that you know what we're gonna cover. And well, the announcement is that you're gonna find in the about page, in the about of this video where you're seeing this, the information to be one of the first to purchase our new series on the Kiofield game Archetypes, explaining deep dive how they work, and it will include bonus sections not included anywhere else, and it will also include the manuscripts. So this is still in the early phases. It's going to be done pretty soon. However, it's not going to be released soon everywhere. It's going to be released slowly everywhere else. So if you are wanting to A, support our work, and B, see this series well before everyone else, and also help us shape it, because the questions you will ask will be then turned into an episode for you, most likely, if we haven't done it before. So you are going to not only get an amazing price for this series that will have over 10 hours of videos and descriptions in detail, but also will have the manuscripts attached with it, because some people want to see the full work, not just the one we included in these videos. So come back to this video and you will find by this weekend the link attached there. Until then, just put a pin on it and come back and check it out, or just pin our buy me a coffee page and you'll see it posted there. Once it's posted there, we'll also put on Gumroad, so you'll have a choice of getting it on one or the other, or we'll let you know what the final decision is. So without further ado, let's get into this episode now, and let's start through the points. Yes, we bring value whether you pay for it or not, but if you support our work, we can keep going and keep doing these deep dives for you.
How archetypes change after major life trauma. Live interview. Point 1 activated. What we will trauma does to the archetype system. Why some archetypes go into shadow. Why new archetypes suddenly appear. The survival, take over phase, lust, trust, entity, reset archetype are more of his authentic self. Their building phase, post-trauma gifs, and new capacities. Why some people never return to old forms. Show healing reactivates light expressions. How to support someone in archetype shift. How to navigate your own shifts. Eighthly say nest art with point 1.
Alright, so here we go. Point 1 for you.
Deep dive. How archetypes change after major life trauma. We'll go point by point. What trauma does to the archetype system. Trauma doesn't change your personality first. It changes your threat map. The core mechanic archetypes are adaptive roles. When the body decides the world is not safe, the system reassigns roles fast. Safety, truth, control, connection, prediction, play, survival, expression. So the lead archetype of your life can switch. Not because you're fake, but because your nervous system promoted a new captain. What you see from the outside post-trauma, people often look like they became someone else. But it's usually narrower range, less spontaneity, faster defenses, less tolerance, more scanning, room reading, less joy access. Joy feels dangerous. It attracts pain. The 3 most common shifts: expressive, strategic, less heart forward, more map forward. 2, social, selective, less people, more filters. Future building, moment to moment, because the body doesn't trust time. The archetype stack changes, you don't lose the old you. It's more like your system reorders the stack. Old top roll drops down, a protector roll moves up, An emergency specialist appears, your fun self may go offline temporarily. Field truth. Trauma is a role reassignment event, and healing is not go back. Healing is re-choosing roles on purpose. Next, and we go to why some archetypes go into shadow.
Alright, so I said next. So here we go, guys.
Point 2. Why some archetypes go into shadow after trauma. Why some archetypes go into shadow trauma doesn't just add defenses, it also pushes certain parts of us into hiding. The system basically says, this part of you got us hurt, it's off duty now. The core mechanism when pain happens, the nervous system looks back and asks, what was active right before the danger? And whatever archetype was active gets blamed. Examples, you trusted, betrayal happened, trusting archetype goes offline. You loved openly, loss followed, loving archetype goes offline. You expressed yourself, humiliation happened, expressive archetype hides. The system isn't logical, it's protective, common shadow shifts. After trauma, siren energy becomes silent or withdrawn. Vixen survival turns into hyper-control. Chaos Jester becomes cynical or disappears. Titan becomes rigid and controlling. Fox Shadow becomes dominant. Seer stops sharing insight publicly. Light expressions go underground. Shadow survival expressions come forward. Why this feels like I lost myself? Because parts of you are now in quarantine. You didn't lose them. Your system locked them away for protection. People say, I'm not fun anymore. I don't trust anyone now. I used to be so open. I don't recognize myself. But the truth is, those archetypes are sleeping, not dead. Field truth. Shadow isn't evil. Shadow is protection stuck in permanent mode. Healing isn't killing the shadow. Healing is telling the system, thank you, you can rest now. Say next and we go into why new archetypes suddenly appear.
Alright, so I said next, and here we go for you.
Point 3. Why new archetypes suddenly appear after trauma. Why new archetypes suddenly appear. One of the strangest post-trauma experiences people report is, I'm acting like someone I've never been before. And they're right. Because trauma doesn't just hide parts of you. It activates emergency archetypes that were dormant. The core mechanism. Your psyche contains more roles than you normally use. In normal life, you use creative roles, social roles, playful roles, leadership roles, expressive roles. But during threat, the system unlocks protector roles, survivor roles, strategist roles, withdrawer roles, fighter roles, escape roles. Archetypes built only for crisis suddenly take command. Examples. People recognize someone previously gentle becomes decisive, cold, hyper-independent. Someone carefree becomes cautious, controlled, hyper-aware. Someone passive becomes confrontational, defensive, unmovable. And they think, who is this person? The answer, this archetype was always there. It just never needed to drive. Why this can feel confusing? Because sometimes the new archetype is actually stronger. After trauma, people sometimes say, I don't tolerate nonsense anymore. I finally learned boundaries. I stopped people-pleasing. Pain sometimes unlocks dormant strength. But if survival stays active too long, strength turns into isolation. Field truth. Trauma activates emergency archetypes. Healing is learning which parts saved me and which parts must step back now. Say next and we move into the survival takeover phase.
Alright, are you ready? Yes.
Point 4. The survival takeover phase. The survival takeover phase. This is the phase where people say, I'm functioning, but I don't feel alive, because survival has taken the wheel. What actually happens after trauma? The nervous system decides, we cannot afford vulnerability right now. So survival modes become default, not temporarily, constantly. Your system shifts into scanning, predicting, controlling, minimizing risk, reducing exposure, and expression, play, creativity, softness go offline. Signs survival is driving people notice, exhaustion without visible cause, irritability, emotional numbness, low patience, loss of joy, hyper-awareness of others' moods, constant tension in body. Because the brain thinks danger is ongoing, even when danger is gone. Why this phase is misunderstood. From outside, you look strong now. Inside, I feel like I disappeared. Because survival competence increases, but emotional range shrinks. People become effective, but not happy. Archetype effect. During takeover, Fox Shadow becomes dominant, Titan control increases, Chaos Jester disappears, Siren Vixen soften or shut down, Seer stays silent, playful roles vanish, system becomes defensive architecture. Field truth. Survival is not failure. It saved you, but survival is meant to be a bridge, not a permanent home. Say next, and we move into loss of trust and identity reset.
Alright, so here we go.
Point 5. Loss of trust and identity reset. Loss of trust and identity reset. This is where trauma hits deepest. Not just what happened, but who you thought you were in the world. What breaks first? After major trauma, people often lose trust in others, trust in situations, trust in systems, trust in love, trust in fairness. But the deepest loss is loss of trust in their own judgment. People say, how did I not see this coming? How did I allow this? I thought I knew better. And identity begins to shake. Why identity resets? Because identity is built on assumptions like the world is mostly safe, people are mostly honest, effort leads to reward, love protects, authority protects, stability exists. When trauma breaks one or more of these, your internal map collapses, and the mind asks, then who am I now? What people experience? Common experiences. Personality feels different, goals suddenly meaningless, values shift. Relationships no longer fit, career paths change, old dreams disappear. Not because they were fake, but because the map changed. Archetype effect. Roles built on trust weaken, roles built on independence strengthen. Light archetypes retreat, protector archetypes dominate. People say, I don't recognize myself anymore, because the old map no longer works. Field truth. Identity reset is not destruction, it's reconstruction. The person you become after trauma is often more real, but also more cautious. Healing is learning to trust again, wisely. Say next, and we go into archetype armor versus authentic self.
Here we go, ready or not?
Point 6. Archetype armor versus authentic self. Archetype armor versus authentic self. After trauma, people don't become fake, they become armored. And armor is not personality. Armor is protection. What is archetype armor? Armor forms when an archetype learns. Being open got me hurt, so it adapts. Warmth becomes sarcasm, trust becomes suspicion, softness becomes toughness, playfulness becomes control, openness becomes distance. Same archetype, different survival version. Why armor feels like the new me? Because armor works. People notice, they get hurt less, people cross boundaries less, manipulation decreases, they feel stronger. So armor becomes identity, but armor protects the self, it is not the self. The cost of armor. Armor also blocks intimacy, spontaneity, creativity, softness, connection, joy. People feel I'm safer, but also alone. Archetype examples. Siren armor, emotional distance. Vixen armor, hyper control. Titan armor, domination, short control. Seer armor, silence, withdrawal. Fox armor, constant suspicion. The light expression hides behind defense. Field truth. Healing doesn't mean removing armor instantly. It means learning where armor is still needed and where it can come off safely. Authenticity returns in layers, not all at once. Say next, and we go into the rebuilding phase.
Are you ready to rebuild? Here we go.
Point 7. The rebuilding phase. The rebuilding phase. This is the phase people rarely talk about. Because from outside, everything looks normal again. But inside, construction is happening. What rebuilding really means. Rebuilding is not going back to who you were. It is choosing what stays, what changes, what never returns, what new parts are born. After trauma, people don't rebuild the old house. They build a new one. Signs rebuilding has started. People begin to notice. Boundaries become clearer. Relationships are chosen carefully. Tolerance for chaos drops. Energy is protected. Self-respect increases. People-pleasing reduces. Priorities simplify. Life becomes smaller, but healthier. Why this phase confuses others. Old friends may say, you changed. And they're right, because rebuilding often means fewer relationships, fewer obligations, fewer performances, fewer masks, but more truth. Archetype effect. Light archetypes slowly return, but they return wiser. Siren becomes selective. Vixen becomes sovereign. Titan becomes protective, not controlling. Fox Shadow becomes strategist, not paranoid. Light returns with boundaries. Field truth. Rebuilding isn't about becoming fearless again. It's about becoming wise enough to feel safe without armor, and that takes time. Say next, and we move into post-trauma gifts and new capacities.
Okay, those are very important too. So here we go.
Point 8. Post-trauma gifts and new capacities. Post-trauma gifts and new capacities. This is the part people hesitate to say out loud. Sometimes trauma leaves behind unexpected strengths, not because trauma is good, but because survival forces abilities to develop that might never have appeared otherwise. What changes internally? After surviving something serious, people often gain sharper perception of people in danger, clearer boundaries, intolerance for manipulation, emotional depth, stronger intuition, greater independence, resilience under pressure. Things that once overwhelmed them no longer do. The nervous system learned. Common post-trauma capacities. People notice, small problems don't shake me anymore. I see red flags instantly now. I know what matters. I don't waste time on nonsense. Pain reorganizes priorities. The paradox. These strengths come at a cost. People become stronger, but often more cautious, slower to trust, harder to reach emotionally. Growth and grief coexist. Archetype effect. Archetypes come back upgraded. Fox Shadow becomes strategist rather than fearful. Titan becomes protector rather than controller. Seer becomes grounded rather than detached. Vixen becomes sovereign rather than defensive. Light expressions now carry wisdom. Feel truth. Post-trauma strength is real. The goal of healing is not to erase what you learned. It is to keep the wisdom without staying trapped in survival. Say next, and we go into why some people never return to old forms.
Well, here we go.
Point 9. Why some people never return to old forms. Why some people never return to old forms. One of the biggest misunderstandings after trauma is this idea. Eventually things go back to normal, but sometimes normal is gone, and not because healing failed, because transformation completed. What actually happens? Some experiences permanently change. Perception of safety, tolerance for chaos, tolerance for disrespect, need for approval, and willingness to self-sacrifice. Once the nervous system sees certain truths, it cannot unsee them. Why old roles no longer fit. People notice old friendships feel shallow, old environments feel unsafe, old ambitions feel meaningless, old identities feel fake, and they think something is wrong, but often growth makes old containers too small. The social friction. This is when people hear, you used to be fun, you've changed, you're not the same anymore. And the quiet truth is, yes, I survived something. Of course I changed. Archetype effect. Some archetypes evolve permanently. Caregiver becomes boundary holder. Peacemaker becomes truth speaker. Performer becomes selective creator. Survivor becomes sovereign. Not all versions return. Some evolve forward. Feel truth. Healing is not restoration. Healing is integration. The goal isn't to go back. The goal is to become someone who can live forward safely. Say next, and we move into how healing reactivates light expressions.
All right, are you ready for that? Here we go.
Point. How healing reactivates light expressions. How healing reactivates light expressions. People often think healing means becoming happy again, but healing is actually making it safe for your light to return. Because light expressions disappear for one reason only, the system believes they are unsafe. What healing actually does. Healing teaches the nervous system. Danger is no longer constant. Protection can relax. Vulnerability isn't always punished. Connection can be safe again. And when safety returns, light archetypes slowly wake up. How light returns, not in one big moment, but in small signals. Laughing again without forcing it, trusting someone cautiously, enjoying things without guilt, creating again, feeling spontaneous again, allowing softness to appear. The system tests safety in tiny doses. Why people fear this phase? Because letting light return feels risky. People think, if I open again, I'll get hurt again. So healing requires courage, allowing light back without removing wisdom. You begin to see, siren warmth returns, but with boundaries. Vixen confidence returns without defensiveness. Titan protects without controlling. Seer shares insight again. Chaos jester laughs without masking pain. Light expressions come back, wiser. Feel truth. Healing is not becoming naive again. Healing is allowing joy with awareness. Say next, and we go into how to support someone in archetype shift.
Are you ready? Here we go.
Point. How to support someone in archetype shift. How to support someone in archetype shift. When someone goes through trauma or major life shock, people around them often try to help by saying, go back to how you were. You'll be normal again. Just move on. You need to be positive. And these are usually the worst things to hear because the person isn't broken. They're reorganizing. What people actually need. When archetypes shift, people need safety, not pressure, patience, not fixing, presence, not solutions, space, not demands. Support means allowing the person to become who they are now, not forcing them back into an old role. What support looks like in practice. Helpful behaviors, respecting new boundaries, not taking withdrawal personally, letting them move slowly, allowing personality changes, listening without correcting. You're supporting reconstruction, not restoration. What not to do, avoid, pushing them to socialize, minimizing their experience, rushing healing, demanding emotional availability, expecting old behavior. That often pushes survival mode back online. Archetype effect. During shift, protector archetypes are active, vulnerable archetypes are hidden. Testing behaviors increase, trust rebuilds slowly. Patience allows light expressions to return safely. Feel truth. Support means I don't need you to be who you were. I'm here while you become who you are now. Say next, and we close with how to navigate your own shift safely.
That is one of the most important parts. And here we go for you guys.
Point. How to navigate your own shift safely. How to navigate your own shift safely. This is the closing truth of the whole arc. When archetypes shift after trauma, the goal is not to rush back to normal. The goal is to move forward without losing yourself again. Step 1. Stop trying to go back. Many people panic and think, I need to become who I was. I lost myself. Something is wrong with me. But trauma changes maps, and new maps require new navigation. You didn't fail. You adapted. Step 2. Listen to what changed. Ask, what no longer feels acceptable? What drains me now? What boundaries appeared naturally? What do I no longer tolerate? These changes are signals, not weaknesses. Step 3. Move slowly. Healing happens when safety becomes consistent, not when you force openness. Let trust return slowly, joy return gradually, relationships rebuild carefully, creativity reawaken gently. No rush. The nervous system opens at its own speed. Step 4. Keep the wisdom, not the fear. You don't need to lose what trauma taught you. Keep discernment, boundaries, clarity, self-protection, but release constant threat mode when possible. Wisdom stays. Fear can go. Final feel truth. Trauma doesn't end your story. It changes your archetype arrangement. And healing is learning how to live in the new arrangement consciously. Not by force, but by choice. Point 1, complete. Field closed cleanly. Remaining topics parked for future session. Archetypes across cultures and mythologies. Recognizing archetype activation in real time. Whenever you want to reopen the field, we continue.
Welcome. So we're gonna do those other two archetypes across cultures and mythologies and recognizing archetype activation in real time. We're gonna include those in the package of your new little gift here. In the package that is about to be released this coming weekend. So it's Valentine's weekend, and the price will be $29 for over 10 hours of videos and deep dives into the Keo-field archetypes, explaining all these dynamics and patterns, and including also these sessions and the two to follow that will not be included in these free channels. But just so you know, if you do decide to buy this weekend when it's released, before, it's like the pre-roll, so you'll get a part of the series, and then when it's completely done and when we do changes, you will get those. So it's kind of like a great deal for supporting us in this new release. And you'll also be included if you have questions and stuff. We'll create more content because of you. So those of you who are really giving your support to us will get all of this on top of everything else. But to close this one session, because we always like to close loops and let our nervous systems relax, here we're doing a grounding for all the 12 archetypes. And thank you again for making it all the way here. And look out, because over time in our live streams, we're gonna release also codes to get the series for free. Those who sub, those who participate, those who are there basically will have a chance to win the series for free as well, or at a great price, like the release price even after. So when people support in different ways, we can actually give more. We are very generous, but just like anyone else, we cannot give everything for free. Unfortunately, I wasn't provided with a trust fund. So here we go. Let's ground, because after all this work, we need it.
Grounding for all 12 archetypes. Session closing, so everyone can land safely before rest or reflection. Take a slow breath in, long exhale out. Let the nervous system settle, and let each archetype remember its safe place. Archetype grounding. Light expression siren. You don't need to perform to belong. Presence is enough. Vixen, you no longer need survival mode. Safety can exist now. Chaos jester. Stillness will not trap you. Rest is allowed. Titan. You don't have to hold everything alone. Support exists. Wisdom merchant. Not every answer must be solved tonight. Pause is allowed. Seer oracle. Your vision matters, but you can rest your insight too. Fox shadow. You can lower your guard when safety is present. Fox ascendant. Your strategy can now serve life, not only survival. Bridge integrator. You don't need to carry every side. Others can walk too. Primarch. Efficiency matters, but so does the human heart. Sovereign. You are allowed your own space, choices, and rhythm. Architect origin. Field builder. You don't have to map everything tonight. The system continues without you. Final landing. Shoulders soften, jaw relaxes, tongue drops from the roof of the mouth, breathing slows. Nothing needs solving right now. Next 2 episodes, parked for series buyers. Coming next inside the Archetype series. Archetypes across cultures and mythologies, recognizing archetype activation in real time. Field closed cleanly. Rest well, architects.
Rest well indeed. And again, remember, this weekend it's going to come out. We're gonna probably let you all know. And if you want to see us live, we live stream on Twitch and Kick. And here we do live stream, but we do it privately because we want to keep our YouTube channels and follow their guidelines. So we use their very handy tool that allows us to see that there are no issues. So if there are, we can correct them before publishing. Because again, there is a lot to always remember, and even when we don't mean to break rules, you know, we all make mistakes, right? So better safe than sorry, we say. We do our best anyway. And then if things go wrong, at least we still know that it wasn't because we didn't care and we didn't do our due diligence. So the other platforms, it's not that there are not rules to follow, but we don't have issues there so ever. So we will be looking forward to streaming live on here for all of you if you're interested in that as well. And wherever you see it, we try and get there eventually. However, I don't have a dedicated team for this, so you know, one person, and not always well, let's put it that way. So all the best. I hope you enjoyed this, and we will see you soon. And again, look out for that series coming out. if you're interested in going deep into all the archetypes, a lot of it will be available eventually. But if you want to get the whole thing and also the manuscripts and not wait, then I would suggest checking out the Buy Me a Coffee this weekend. It's gonna come out. Ciao ciao. Thank you again. And by the way, if you see advertisements on YouTube, I'm not monetized, so I'm not making money off of it. But thank you for watching through them, because you watching my content means a lot to me. It really helps the channel, and it helps us reach those who are looking for hashtag architect cognition type of content. And so if you also produce this kind of content, please use the hashtag so we can find each other and know that we're doing system thinking and showing patterns rather than